දැන් සිග්නල් හර්බල් 99ක් විශ්වවිද්‍ය සමග සටන් කරයි. හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Saturday the 28th of January 2023. Power struggle. PUCSL to take legal action against CB. Power disrupted from Monday onwards. Due date. PAFREL says government is responsible to ensure that elections is held in time. CID meanwhile hunts down culprits behind death threats to election commission officials.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says the government must look towards adopting the changes in the service of tourism and hospitality and adopt new technologies and trends to rope in more tourists to the country. Speaking at an event in Colombo, he went on to say that while the tourism sector is capable of becoming the economy's biggest strength, the sector must also use the expertise and experience it has gathered over the years to maneuver through the challenges it faces at the moment.
Tourism industry is one sector that can really give the strongest strength to Sri Lankan economy to raise its head. And how we tackle it is also a big challenge the Honourable Minister shoulders and the country for shoulders. We were going through difficulties of COVID. We overcame the COVID period. Thereafter, the challenges of the economic and debt crisis that we are faced today. In that area, foreign exchange plays a very important role. Also, the message that is carried from tourists adds another plus point for Sri Lanka. Because Sri Lanka is so lovely that tourists like to come. That's one reason. But that's not the only reason. The hoteliers and the hospitality trade has been able to attract more and more to the hospitality trade from many countries of interest, I would say. Mostly Europeans, Asians, and the newcomers from the giants of Asia contributing to Sri Lanka. And also I hope the tourist industry faces the challenge that is before them. But not only the government can support the industry. It is the industry itself, its strength, it is its experience and all what it can gather that can generate the future strength that you all could move with. The changing atmosphere of various new visitors to Sri Lanka wanting to deal in their own currency. I hope the government would be able to consider these new factors also, because the Asian giants are today going to be our visitors in addition to the European visit. Therefore, facilitating in the usage of the new techniques available in using cash or credit card and advance has to come. India has already started. They are far ahead than us.
And the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Janaka Ratnayaka, warns of legal action if the Ceylon Electricity Board fails to reassure uninterrupted power supply from Monday until the GC Advanced Level Examination concludes. He stated that the CB does not have the authority to decide and implement power cuts, as such decisions and powers should receive PUCSL approval. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka had stated that the power cuts in the country violate the rights of children sitting for the 2022 GCE Advanced Level Examinations. Accordingly, on the 23rd of January, the HRCSL informed the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission and the secretary of the Ceylon Electricity Board to take steps to avoid implementing power cuts during the exam period. Following this, top officials at the PUCSL, the CB and the CPC held discussions on the 25th of January and decided to ensure uninterrupted supply of power until the GC A-level exam concludes on the 17th of February. However, the upper management of the CEB had informed the PUCSL that they had decided to implement power cuts as per the previous schedule and requested the PUCSL to grant approval for the move. However, the chairman of the PUCSL, Janaka Ratnayaka, rejected the request made by the CEB after considering the inconvenience caused to 331,000 students sitting for the exam. The PUCSL further requested the public to inform the authority if power supply is disrupted during the duration of the A-level exam. The general public can reach the PUCSL on WhatsApp on the number 077 568 7387 and through email by sending emails to consumers@pucsl.gov.lk. The PUCSL highlighted that it had not allowed the CB to interrupt power supply from the 26th of January until the 17th of February. It further stated that in this backdrop, the CB does not have the authority to implement power cuts. As such, Janaka Ratnayaka said today that if the CB does not reassure that it will not disrupt power supply by Monday, the PUCSL will take legal action against the CB. Now, the Executive Director of the PAFRL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, mentioned today that while certain people engage in last-ditch efforts to postpone the local government election, it is the government's responsibility to see to it that the election is held on time. He made these remarks today at a media briefing where he shared the latest on the third death threat issued to a member of the Election Commission.
On the 18th of January 2023, death threats were issued to KPP Patirana and B. Divaratna of the Election Commission. Following the commencement of investigations in this regard by the CID, Commission member M.M. Mohammed of the Election Commission also received a death threat late yesterday, demanding that he resign from his official position within the Commission. Speaking to media, the Executive Director of PAFRL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, brought this matter to the attention of the government, while also stating that the government cannot escape its responsibility of having elections on time.
මේ අනුව සමාජිකයින් තිදෙනෙකුට මේ වෙනකොට මරණයේ තර්ජනය සිදු කරලා තිබෙනවා. WhatsApp තාක්ෂණය ඔස්සේ ඒ වගේම දුරකථනයනුත් මේ තර්ජන කිරීම දිග දිගටම සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙනවා. එකම නම්බර එක හරහා මේ කටයුතු සිද්ධ වෙච්ච බවක් තමයි බැලු බැලමට එනේ ගිහිලා තිබෙන්නේ. ඊයේ රාත්‍රියේම අදාළ කොමසාරිස්තුමාට අවශ්‍ය පොලිස් ආරක්ෂාව ලබා දීලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ වෙනකොට CID එකේ නිලධාරීන් අවශ්‍ය පරීක්ෂණ ආරම්භ කරලා තිබෙනවා. පළාත් පාලන මැතිවරණයේ කල් දැමීමේ අවසාන උත්සාහයත් මේ වෙනකොට ගනිමින් තිබෙන බව තමයි අපිට පෙනී ගිහිලා තිබෙන්නේ. කොමුණත් මේක ඉතාම බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්. මේ රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදය අභියෝගයට ලක් කරන තත්ත්වයක්. මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආණ්ඩුවේ විශේෂ අවධානය යොමු විය යුතුයි. විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ අවධානයත් පොලිස්පතිතුමාගේ අවධානයත් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් යොමු කරන්නට කැමතියි. යම් විදිහකින් මේ මැතිවරණේ කඩාකප්පල් වුණොත් එහි වගකීමෙන් ආණ්ඩුවට නිදහස් වීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
Meanwhile, Council member Roshan Kolambage of the Kaduwela Municipal Council lodged a complaint with the Election Commission today, claiming that the chairman of the Kaduwela Municipal Council is currently engaged in the worst scandal in the history of the local government elections.
පළාත් පාලන මැතිවරණ ඉතිහාසයක කරපු දූෂිතම වංචා සහගතම සිද්ධිය කඩුවෙල මහනගර සභාවේ නගරාධිපතිවරයා ප්‍රමුඛ පොහොට්ටුවේ මන්ත්‍රී කණ්ඩායම මේ වෙනකොට කරනවා. ලක්ෂ 1500ක පාරවල් කොන්ත්‍රාත් මේ වෙලාවේ මුදල් කමිටුවට දාලා තියෙනවා. මේ සියලුම දේවල් මහ සභාවට ගේන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ සූදානම් වෙනවා අනුමැතිය ගන්න පෙබරවාරි 1 වෙනිදා. මේක ලංකා ඉතිහාසයේ කරපු දූෂිතම මැතිවරණ වංචාව. අද මේ වැඩේ කොමිස් යන්නේ කාටද? පොහොට්ටුවේ කාර්යාලයට කෝටි 5ක කොමිස් මුදලක් මේකෙන් අනුමත කරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම පොහොට්ටුවේ ඡන්ද ඉල්ලන අපේක්ෂකයින්ට මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට ලක්ෂ 5 ගානේ මේකෙන් කොමිස් ලබා දෙන වැඩපිළිවෙලක් හදලා තියෙනවා. අනිත් මැතිවරණයේ ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා ඉන්න අපේක්ෂකයින්ට කරන ලොකු අසාධාරණයක් මේක. ඒක නිසා වහාම මේක මැතිවරණ කොමිසම නවත්තන්නට ඕනේ.
Meanwhile, a similar incident was also reported by a council member of the Minuwangoda Municipal Council.
In the meantime, a special traffic plan which was in effect today will be effective tomorrow and on the first 3 days of February in view of the Independence Day celebrations. However, the police say that residents will be given access to the roads that will remain closed during the stipulated time period.
A special traffic plan is in place at the Golface Green and adjacent areas for 5 days in view of the rehearsals for the 75th Independence Day celebration. According to a press release issued by the Sri Lanka police, a traffic arrangement was implemented from 5 am to 12 pm today and will be in effect tomorrow as well. Subsequently, the special traffic plan will then be implemented from the 1st of February till the 3rd of February. Accordingly, the Golface Centre Road from Golface Roundabout to NSA Roundabout at Chaitya Road area, the entrance to Station Road in Kollupitiya and Golface Roundabout from Kollupitiya Junction, the entrance to Gaul Road from St. Michael's Roundabout, the entrance to Gaul Road from Rotunda Roundabout, the entrance to NSA Roundabout from Ceramic Junction, the entrance to Bank of Ceylon Mawatha from York Street, the entrance to Chatham Street from York Street, the entrance to Mudalige Mawatha from York Street, the entrance to Sir Baron Jathilika Mawatha from York Street, the entrance to YMBA Roundabout from Khan Clock Tower Roundabout, the entrance to CTO Junction and Alcott Mawatha from Senor Junction, the entrance to Ceramic Junction, Lotus Road from CTO Junction, the entrance to DR Vijayawardhana Mawatha from Gamini Roundabout, the entrance to Regal Junction from Slave Island Roundabout, The entrance to Golface Green and Baladaksha Mawatha from Sir Mohammed Makan Markar Mawatha, the entrance to Kollupitiya from Bambalipitiya Junction on the Gaul Road, the entrance to Colombo from Marine Drive through Bambalipitiya Station Road, the entrance to Liberty Roundabout from Flower Road Junction and Anandakumaraswamy Road, the entrance to R.A. Dimel Mawatha and Tummulla Junction from Bauddha Loka Road, the entrance to St. Michael Roundabout from Liberty Roundabout will not be available for the use of the public from 5 am to 12 pm on the specified days. Accordingly, motorists using these roads are advised to use alternative roads for the time being. However, on the instructions of the traffic police officers, the residents are given access to the roads that remain closed during the stipulated time period.
Welcome back. Now, Japan hopes to introduce green and renewable energy technology in Sri Lanka as part of a technology transfer that they hope to carry out through the joint crediting mechanism. Speaking at the 64th Annual General Meeting of the National Chamber of Commerce, Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka Mizukoshi Hideaki said that through the joint crediting mechanism, Sri Lanka will be able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and move towards decarbonization.
The National Chamber of Commerce recently held their 64th Annual General Meeting in Colombo with many ambassadors and diplomats present at the occasion.
Based on the staff agreement with the IMF in September last year, Sri Lanka needs to seriously work on eradicating corruption and reforming state-owned enterprises. Moreover, in order to make the economy more export-oriented and competitive, as mentioned in the 2023 budget, it is imperative for Sri Lanka to further strengthen the manufacturing industry, covering a wide range of fields, and promote the export industry which can be incorporated into global supply chain. In considering the future assistance to Sri Lanka, Japan would like to support Sri Lanka's efforts to make economy more resilient. In addition, it is essential for Sri Lanka economy to attract foreign investment in order to establish sustainable and stable economic growth. To achieve this end, the improvement of the investment environment is crucial. The economic growth, which will be brought by foreign investors, will in turn benefit Sri Lankan business as well. So when I request improvement of investment environment to Sri Lankan government, I am doing it not just for Japanese companies, but I am doing it for Sri Lankan people. Japan has been continuously providing support for mine clearance activities in the northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka, and also supporting the vulnerable families who were displaced due to civil war. Further, we would like to continue to support the Sri Lankan efforts to uplift the living standard in the north and east provinces, as well as hill country Tamils. Last October, in order to promote the cooperation between Japanese and Sri Lankan companies in the environmental field, our two countries signed an agreement on a joint crediting mechanism, JCM for short. With the collaboration of Japanese and Sri Lankan companies and the support of the Japanese government, this joint credit mechanism aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by introducing the decarbonization and renewable energy technologies to Sri Lanka, which are already practiced by the Japanese companies in Japan. With this initiative, I believe that investment and technology transfer by Japanese companies will be promoted.
Now, potential US recession and tough comparisons to a stellar 2022 are weighing on the prospects of energy stocks delivering to an encore on last year's stunning run, despite valuations that are seen as still comparatively cheap. Experts argue that the energy sector's valuations bolster the case for a third straight year of gains, which would be the first such feat for the group since 2013.
The S&P 500 energy sector is up 4.2% year-to-date as at yesterday, slightly lagging the rise for the broader index. The sector logged a 59% jump in 2022, an otherwise brutal year for stocks that saw the S&P 500 drop 19.4%. Despite last year's run, the sector trades at a 10-time forward price-to-earnings ratio compared to a 17 times for the broader market, and many of its stocks offer robust dividend yields. The potential returns for shareholders were highlighted this week when Chevron shares rose almost 5% after announcing plans to buy $75 billion worth of its stocks. Some investors worry, however, that energy companies may find it hard to increase profits after huge jumps in 2022, especially if a widely expected US economic downturn hits commodity prices. Economists and analysts in a Reuters survey forecast US crude would average $84.84 per barrel in 2023 compared to an average price of $94.33 last year. The US crude prices recently stood at $80 per barrel. The sector's weight in S&P 500 roughly doubled last year to 5.2%. While energy companies are expected to deliver strong quarterly reports over the coming weeks after a roaring 2022, those numbers may have set a high bar for this year. In the meantime, bullish investors point to shareholder-friendly uses of cash by the companies. Other experts, however, believe more value may exist in areas of the market that were beaten down last year, with some saying stocks in areas such as consumer discretionary and industrials may appear more attractive.
Now, some of India's leading public sector banks said yesterday that their exposure to the Adani Group was within the limits prescribed by the central bank, assuaging fears of default risks from their exposure to the conglomerate. The ports to the energy conglomerate helmed by the Gautam Adani, one of the world's richest men, has come under attack from US short seller, hindering research, leading to a sharp fall in shares of group companies and the lenders that have exposure to it.
The Reserve Bank of India allows for no more than 25% of a bank's available eligible capital base to be exposed to any one group of connected companies. Public sector banks in India have been in the past hit by massive corporate defaults. Lenders have since taken several measures to clean up their books, but any fresh default by a large corporate could strain their balance sheet. Representative of India's largest lender, the State Bank of India, said that there is nothing alarming about the bank's Adani exposure and that there were no concerns as of now. The Adani Group hadn't raised any funding from the State Bank of India in the recent past, and the bank stated that it would take a prudent call on any funding request from them in the near future. An official at the state-run Bank of India added that the lenders' loans to the Adani Group were within permissible limits, while executives at two other private banks said that they were not yet in a panic mode but being watchful. An official of the Union Bank of India said that the bank was also not seeing any stress from their exposure to the conglomerate either. According to sources, the group's debt accounts for 0.5% of total loans across the Indian banking sector. For public sector banks, the debt is at 0.7% of total loans, and for private banks, it is at 0.3%.
And that's all the news we have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Tune into our social media pages to stay updated on the latest news. Have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.